Monogamy and ethical non-monogamy. Monogamy could be the best fit in today's Western cultures and the safest form of romantic relationship from a material and physical standpoint, not necessarily spiritually or energetically, because a system based on capitalism has made other forms of relationships highly risky due to the need for protection of assets, financial wealth, and ownership. It is no coincidence that the words money and monogamy are so similar. Millions have found great happiness and security in traditional monogamous relationships, serving as an example of a stereotype that might not be the fit for everyone. Many in that idealistic pursuit of relationship goals struggle with relationships finding stability and material wealth at the expense of missing the proper complement or spiritual and energetic match for a true spiritual union. Monogamous relationships are what society generally knows about romantic love, since today laws in most countries only allow marriage with one person at a time. But monogamy has not always been the rule. It started to take place around 3,000 years ago, associated with archaeological evidence of a reduction in brain size of humans in the last 3,000 years that could be caused by delegation of autonomy to authorities or indoctrination. Although monogamy is generally accepted and can provide many benefits in today's world, scientific studies have determined that primates are not naturally monogamous. In fact, only a few species in nature show monogamous behaviors. Since monogamy is not natural for the human body, it is a masculine construct, which can become unnatural or supernatural. Sadly, most human romantic relationships often harbor negative energies, including jealousy, attachment, fear of loss, possessiveness, and power dynamics. Completely the opposite of the spiritual path of eliminating fear, eliminating attachment, eliminating desire. A supernatural monogamy can be possible, but it's extremely rare, since relationships develop many forms of jealousy, insecurities, materialism, greed, and fears, as well as energetic stagnation between two persons that needs to flush or flow in some way, causing disloyalty, dishonesty, and cheating in those relationships. Many have chosen to adopt ethical non-monogamous relationships with all kinds of structures and configurations. Yet, those structures and romantic relationships are not necessarily the natural form of the human romantic bond. Understanding that jealousy is a natural emotion, it is not an emotion that rules in animals in regards to romance, sex, and family bonds. The divine masculine is absent from jealousy, attachment, envy, or similar energies. A lesson from a horror story. Let's analyze a real-world story to exemplify in a more illustrated way the risk dynamics of today's traditional relationships. There was a couple that decided to get married. She was a very beautiful woman working low-paying jobs, and he was a professional with an above-average salary. She found great stability and security with him, and he found her as the trophy to be treasured in his life. They looked like the perfect fit for a happy marriage, very blessed by both sides of the families. As soon as they got married, they bought a nice house. A few months after, she became pregnant, and both were so happy for the baby. The baby was born in a safe environment, with family and financial stability. Everything was going perfectly, apparently. Sadly, he found out that she had been disloyal. She had been sleeping with another man while he was at work. This was devastating for him, going through a process of grief and acceptance that she actually never truly loved him. She was always in love with someone else. Separation followed by a divorce was inevitable. She kept the house as she was the mother of his child. She moved her lover into his house. He ended up without wife, without living with his child, without his house, and over all that pain, paying the mortgage of the house. This sounded like a strategic dating plan motivated by reckless greed. What is commonly called gold diggers is what makes the world so unsafe in regard to dating and romantic relationships. That is why the world considers absolute monogamy as the safest way of driving romantic relationships in a material world, a world of distrust and asset protection. The lesson. At first sight, many would judge that the detriment might be all the fault of a disloyal woman, but by using a deeper discernment, in fact, this terrifying story could most likely be the cause of the mentality of these two men involved. She wanted stability, she wanted love, she wanted to be a mother. There's nothing wrong about wanting happiness. If the first man who became her husband could think of starting the relationship in a non-monogamous aspect, to prioritize honesty at the beginning and observe if she was actually interested in someone else over him, not just in his income, he would catch at early stages of the relationship the flaws, leading to an anticipated end of the relationship that would saved him all that harm. Instead, he just focused on the traditional way of closed monogamy, leading to unnatural and dishonest dating, to gain the trophy of companionship of a woman. On the other hand, the man she loved desired to have her, but he didn't have the financial stability she aspired. But focusing on self-development and working hard, he would not motivate her to engage in such an irresponsible and detrimental plan, in which even the life of an innocent child would be impacted. If both men had ever thought of ethical non-monogamy to love her and give her all she wanted without causing any harm to each other, by removing all greed, dishonesty, and jealousy, the story would have ended much differently. The root cause of most distrust is a lack of emotional intelligence in men. Also, it is a wise protective measure for men to get a vasectomy, so their fertility can't be exploited adversely. The true enemy is never physical. It is vibrational and energetic. It is inside in the form of emotions and desire. The enemy is within. The divine masculine is the ultimate defense against an invisible enemy.